Hey guys, and welcome to the first video that I'm making of SurvivalEngine 2. I just, for a couple days ago, I posted a forum, on the forum of Unity, that I was developing SurvivalEngine 2, which is a sequel, obviously, to SurvivalEngine 1. And there were lots of people who wanted a video, at least where I'm showing the main features of the asset SurvivalEngine 2. So I thought, why not make it, even though I'm not even close to, or I'm actually very close to being done with the asset, but I'm not, that close. I mean, there's still lots of work to do, lots of bugs to fix, but it will probably be taking 1 week, then the asset will probably be on the internet being sold. So anyway, in this video, I'm gonna show you guys the two main features that I've already added and which works properly in SurvivalEngine 2. So the first option here, whenever you open the asset, is the game manager, obviously the game object, and then we have player settings and weapon database. If you click on player settings, it will unfold. Now here, first off, we have the player character and player camera, obviously pointing to these objects, which I already have assigned. You can assign your own objects, obviously. This is an object field. And then here it says add components to the player character and player camera, which means that it will automatically add these scripts inside of the scripts folder in SurvivalEngine 2, automatically depending on which game object it is. So the player scripts will basically be on the player game object, while the camera scripts will be on the camera object, so that you don't have to move around the scripts to different type of game objects. Then, if we move a little bit down, you'll see that we have player attributes coming up, which is movement. We start off with movement. We have the speed of the movement, we can change it and it will change in real time too. And then we have the sprinting speed, which will apply the speed, obviously, or basically just add by 10 onto 8, which makes it 18, as long as I'm holding down shift. I can show you guys. So if we just move around right now, you'll see that we have 8 movement speed, and then if I hold down shift, you'll see that I obviously move a lot faster. Next up, we have jump force, also, which obviously is making the character able to jump. You can change it and it will change as well. Then we have the regular, or the default animations, let's say, for our player character, which is idle and then run forward, back, left, and right. These are the animations that you just assign, and they will automatically play depending on the player state. And down below, we're coming up to adding your own custom animations to SurvivalEngine 2. These animations can be for anything at all. It can be for your player object, it can be for a door in the game. You don't necessarily have to make it for a door, that will be very small, but it can even be for a door, from weapons to doors and to planes, terrains, whatever you want. And then you can delete the latest added animation and hide all the animations that are shown. And when the show all but animations button is showing up, you will see how many animations are included, which is a very nice feature, so that you can keep track of how many animations you have in your game. Down below, whenever you click on show all animations, you will see a X button, which will reset these parameters, attributes. Basically, it will just make everything null so that you can assign them, reassign them. And we have an animation name. This is not necessary for anything at all. That's just for you to keep record of which animation you're playing around with. If you just have a very, very confusing animation name, like player underline running underline left or something like that. Some assets do have these kind of animations, I know. And then down below, which is the important part, we have animation ID. Animation ID is a system that is presented in SurvivalEngine 2, which will make it very easy for you guys to play animations whenever you want, whatever animation you want, without calling the name for it every single time. I'll show you guys that later. Moving down below, we have hunger, we have thirst. They will also count how much time it will take by seconds for the player to die due to hunger or thirst. You can then change increased thirst by 1 each 100 seconds, and the max thirst of players. Same thing goes for hunger. Then we have the camera finally for our player settings. We have the sensitivity for player turning, and then the camera turning, which is vertical for camera and horizontal for player. minimum player angle and minimum camera angle and maximum, obviously. So we're done with the player settings. That is obviously everything that is presented in the player settings with all the attributes and stuff. Now moving on to the next part, we have the weapon database. Here first off, it will show you guys how many weapons you have stored in your weapon database currently. You can then add new weapon, delete latest weapon, just like with the animations, and also hide all weapons stored. And then it will also show you how many animations you have stored here too. So we're gonna add a new animation, and you will see that it increases by 1. We're gonna add, or not animation, I'm sorry, I meant new weapon. So we're gonna click on show all weapons stored, and here you can see this weapon that is null right now. It's weapon 0. So we're gonna give it a name. We're gonna call it for X, because we already have a game object which is called for X. So I'm just gonna pretty much implement it to SurvivalEngine 2 just to show off what SurvivalEngine 2 can do. Then we're gonna drag the game object into the object field. And now again, the name is not very necessary. It will just change the name here so you can keep track of what game object you're playing around with and looking at right now. So if we just call it for M9, it will get called for M9. But we're gonna call it for X. Then we have weapon texture for inventory. Inventory is an upcoming feature. I mean, it's gonna be there when the asset gets released, but I have to work on it. Then we have show X attributes. Now, if you click it, you'll see every single attribute that is presented for a melee weapon as a default. Then you can change this to pistol, rifle, shotgun, and the attributes will change depending on what type of weapon you're choosing. We're gonna go for melee. And also note that this will also add the components for our X object. So you can see that component pistol SC, which stands for SurvivalEngine, has been added to X. So we're gonna go there and delete every single one that is unnecessary for us that we just added. I'll make a feature where it pretty much deletes every single component that is unnecessary. So whenever you click on, if you're on like melee, then you click on pistol, it will delete the melee script. I'll make that feature happen. So moving on to the attributes, we have weapon weight, which will basically count up a weight of what you're giving into it, like from an input of you, and then decrease the movement speed by this. It will just subtract, I'm sorry. So we have maximum health of the axe, and this is basically for whenever you're cutting a tree, how much like maximum health do you want the axe to have before it gets destroyed. Then we have also decrease health, which is basically how much it will decrease each attack from the maximum health. So if you take 10, then it will just decrease by 10 every single time you punch a tree or a zombie or an enemy, whatever. Then we have also damage dealing, obviously, which is how much damage you deal every single attack to something. I may make a feature where it's a little bit randomized, but I think it's better to like go with a constant variable. I think that would be much better. I don't know, if you guys think that I should have a randomization, let me know. So now moving on to the most important part in my opinion, let me just change these to 0 because they are default. We have the animation IDs for our weapons. Now this is presented in every single category of type of weapon, and you can obviously there are new ones if you choose a pistol, like aiming down sights and stuff like that. So basically what these are is animation ID of idle will be basically, alright, let me just show you guys the example. Let me unfold this first. Then now let's say that we're gonna add a animation for our X. We already have it, X swapping animation. I just created it in Unity. It's very, very simple. So go to Game Manager, go to Player Settings, and here, let me just nullify these and delete them. Now we're gonna add a new animation. It's gonna be called for whatever I want. It's not necessary, once again, but I'm just gonna call it for swapping, or X swapping animation. Cool. Now we're gonna go ahead to the animations folder, which is presented in the SurvivalEngine 2 folder. X choosing animation. Oh, by the way, this is gonna be called for X choosing. Sorry. Just to keep track. Now you'll see that our animation X choosing has a ID of 6. Basically, if we go back here to weapon database, animation ID of choosing weapon is basically going to be 6, meaning that this means that whenever we're choosing this weapon, it will call for an animation with the ID 6, and obviously it will search for this field right here, the animation field basically, and select a animation that has a ID of 6. You can add new animations and it will just increase by 1 every single time. So it makes it very easy for you to call your custom animations, and you can even add your own animations and still use the ID system. You don't necessarily have to write this field. So let's go to the game, or let me just show you the code real quick. Here you can see that if input get key down keycode.n will call for this animation. This line of code will be in the documentation that is presented in given in the SurvivalEngine 2 folder too, so you'll be able to find everything that you have to call very easily. But necessarily for these default animations, you won't have to call them. It will automatically be done by the asset, better to say. But if you have to add your own custom animations, you'll just need this line of code. So basically, this is saying that if we press the keycode.n, it will call for this animation. Let's go ahead and try that. So let's double check. We have the animation, X choosing animation. It has an ID of 6, and we're calling a animation that is for choosing weapon for our X game object, which has the ID 6. We have the animation component for our X game object, which is necessary obviously, and it has X choosing animation inside of it. Let's go ahead and play. So if you press N, it will play the animation. I told you guys it's very simple animation. It's not very much of a professional. And just to prove you guys that this is very well working, we're gonna go for X window animation. I'm gonna show you guys the actual animation. So we're gonna go for X choosing animation, and you'll see that it is this animation. So it is actually playing it. So these are the features that are presented in SurvivalEngine 2 right now. There will be inventory. There will be an inventory system. There will be item database too, besides a what is it called, for a weapon database, which is basically like items for food, keys for doors and stuff like that. Or if you're making a modern survival game like weapon ammo and stuff like that, there will be those kind of stuff. Then there will also be a crafting system. So 3 more stuff to go, but they are the easiest ones left. Weapon database was probably the most difficult one, but I enjoyed so much working with it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video of SurvivalEngine 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really appreciate your kind feedback on the forum too. If you haven't checked it out yet on the forum, be sure to click the link in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next episode of whatever I make.